When the going gets tough and the blood begins to spill in Miami Vice, that's the cue for Barry Brown to roll his sleeves up and get going in the cutting room. Now, Barry is the head of what's called BBC Purchased Programmes, and one of his many responsibilities is to remove some of the more violent scenes from the programmes before you actually get to see them. Now, before I talk to Barry, here's a couple of clips from last night's Miami Vice after they've been through that editing process.
Come here, okay? I want to talk to you for a second, okay? Come on.
Hey, listen, Dad.
What?
You know,
what?
Maybe we could, like, talk, you know.
About what?
Work out something.
What?
Now, Barry, whatever you did there, you did it quite well. What did we actually miss?
I think you're rather strong to say it was censored. I think editing is a little different from censoring. In the stabbing, it's the close-up of the knife going in, which was a little strong for viewers. And I think people got the idea that somebody was stabbed without having that. And in the shootout, we just reduced any close-ups, and we just had the first shot being fired without all the subsequent shot and goings on there, so that it just reduced the impact a little bit, but still was clear in the storyline.
Miami Vice must present you with a lot of problems, though, bearing in mind the amount of music there is on the programme.
It's very tricky. I noticed a little music edit last night that I wasn't too happy with, but I think most people would have thought it was pretty expert, and it was, considering that the music underneath does make it very difficult at times.
Yeah. Michael Hodson-Smith has phoned in from Downham Market in Norfolk, and he said the BBC Miami Vice runs approximately 5 minutes shorter than normal, indicating substantial editing by the BBC. Plus, the storyline is disjointed from the editing. I know the BBC's policy of cutting down on violence, but this is well after the watershed time, and I resent being told what I can see. Let's hear what Andrea Hooper from Broadstone in Dorset thinks. Hello, Andrea.
Hello.
Hi, Andrea. Are you a Miami Vice fan?
I am, yes.
Right. So, are you happy with what you're getting on screen at the minute?
No, not really. I think the programme is still good, but I feel at 10:10 it's very unlikely that children will be watching it. And I object to them doctoring programmes at adult television. I don't really see any need for them to do so.
If it's good enough to watch in America, in the full context, why isn't it good enough to watch here?
Well, Andrea, I take your point, and it's a very tricky situation because we're getting as many people complaining about the editing as we get about saying the violence is too strong. It's a 50-50 split. It is difficult when it's going into people's homes, but in America, somehow people can distinguish so much more easily between fantasy and reality. And Miami Vice is sheer fantasy. It's designer clothes, very stylishly filmed, and there's all that music underneath it, and it isn't reality at all. And it is tricky to know just where to stop, but we just reduce it a little bit, and we don't take 5 minutes out of it. Sometimes most American shows, with commercial breaks taken out of them, only last 45 minutes, but sometimes it's 47 minutes, so they're put in a 50-minute slot, but really very little is edited. Last night's episode had less than 30 seconds taken out of it.
Andrea, do you think people would have difficulty in distinguishing between what is reality and what is fiction?
Not at all. I think it's insulting, actually, to say that Americans can distinguish between fantasy and British people can't. I mean, I think that is the enjoyment of Miami Vice, is the fact that it is so, you know, that it is fantasy.
Yeah, I have to say, Andrea, there are those, of course, who would disagree with you. Let's hear what Simon Mead from Maidenhead thinks of all this. Hello, Simon.
Hello there.
Hi, Simon.
Hi.
What's your opinion?
My opinion, I'm just asking now that with satellite and cable stations now running, if I wish, I can subscribe to a movie channel and be shown versions with no further cuts. I have a choice. But with the BBC, I have to, by law, pay a licence fee a year for films and TV series which are edited. I have no choice. Why is there... This is not fair.
Well, you see, when you pay for something like a satellite service or you go to the cinema, you have the choice to either watch it or not watch it. And we've got to really cater for a much broader audience. But in fact, it's not true that the cable and satellite stations will be able to show what the BBC doesn't show, because the British Standards Council, the Broadcasting Standards Council is there and will be a watchdog on those films as well. All videos that you hire are not necessarily the ones that you see in the cinema. They have been edited at times too. So there are various degrees of editing. I don't think on a satellite station, Simon, you will really see films very much less edited than you would on BBC television.
But when do you actually make the decision to show a film, violence, bad language and all?
You have to really judge each film on its own merits. For example, at Christmas time, we shortened the introduction, the first scene of Jagged Edge, because it was very, very strong indeed, but gave the intention of the brutal murder. But then on BBC Two at Christmas time, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was on way past 10 o'clock at night. It was a prestigious film, shown on BBC Two. We showed that totally uncut, language and violence.
OK, let's go to Norwich. Raymond Wigley. Good morning, Raymond.
Morning.
Good morning, Raymond. What would you like to say?
Yes, Barry, I'd like to ask, with so much predictability in many of the American soaps, how do you go on to select the actual soap programme, or even the police programmes to put onto the BBC?
Well, remember, only 15% of BBC programmes are bought in. And so, Raymond, we have to look in conjunction with ITV. We both look at the same material and we decide which would be most suited for our channel. Sometimes you know that the controller of BBC One, controller of BBC Two has a need for a particular kind of show, and so we try to find the best of those kinds of shows.
Right, let's leave the last word on all of this to Marie Simonson, who's called in from West Yorkshire. Good morning, Marie.
Good morning, Eamon.
Good morning,
How
Marie.
are you?
I'm OK. You were listening to all this then?
Well, I lived in San Francisco for over 30 years, so I watched Miami Vice all the time. And I didn't realise that they edited so much over here. I didn't realise the guy had been stabbed until I saw nearly the end of Miami Vice. I don't think it's violent. And like I said to the lady who called me, there is an on and off button, and people who don't like it, they can just turn it off. I think it's a great show.
OK, Marie, thank you very much indeed for your opinion. Just very briefly, Barry, the studios in America that make shows like Miami Vice, they have to sell them, of course.
Yes, indeed.
You know, the law of economics. Do they listen to what's being said in Britain and Europe about how violent the shows are?
They are now, because you'll notice in this new series of Miami Vice, it's getting a little more jokey. There's some quite amusing scenes from time to time where they still reveal the plot, but they're having little jokes along the way rather than getting their guns out. So there is a slight change in Miami Vice, and I think viewers will notice it, but still find it very enjoyable.
Barry Bryant, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. Mike.
Yes, and calls coming in on Miami Vice and other American programmes. Stephen Pickering from Rotherham's given us a call. The whole lot of the American programmes should be censored, he says. Don't they make good British programmes anymore? Paul Fraser gave us a call on Miami Vice. When it does portray violence on the screen, it always shows the emotion behind it. Compared to other TV programmes shown earlier on, Miami Vice should be left alone. Catherine Allen says the American programmes are usually the only things worth watching on television. They're less offensively violent than most British counterparts. If you're British but don't like soap operas, then these American programmes is all there is to watch. And Susan Maxwell gave us a call on a different story. That's she called from London about last night's Wogan. She wanted to say what a relaxed and spontaneous interview it was with Debbie Reynolds. It was delightful, but it wasn't long enough. Can she come back? Can we see more of her? She's just wonderful. And the American film on BBC Two last night called Something About Amelia dealt with the sensitive subject of child abuse and the use of therapy to try to overcome the problem. Harry Rowell from Bishop Auckland gave us a call. He saw the film and wondered whether that kind of sympathetic approach was available here in Britain. And if it isn't, should it be? Thank you very much indeed for your call, Harry. Amen.